It's every kid's dream, right? Their favorite toys spring to life and play with them as if they were real friends. I mean, who doesn't recall giving a voice and or personality to a cherished teddy bear or action figure? Buzz and Woody brought this idea to vividly animated life back when they first hit the big screen and have been doing pretty well for themselves ever since. But the dolls we'll be discussing today aren't from Toy Story, far from it. These little porcelain people aren't afraid to let folks know that they've been running around, and sometimes cause a lot more trouble than you'd think. Hello horror heads and welcome back to the scariest channel on YouTube, Top 5 Scary Videos. I'm your horror host, Keegan Hughes, and today we're going to count down the top 5 scary haunted dolls caught moving. Before we get started, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe for more malcontent marionettes. And if you like these, don't forget to stop off at the Maple Drip Inn and check out the Room of 1,000 Dolls. Great place to end a relationship, I heard. Alright, let's get started. Kicking us up at number 5, we've got the Haunted Bionicle.
There's nothing up here. What the crap? There's nothing in here either, look.
Okay, so we're starting this one off a little unconventionally. I'm sure thousands of lonely little lads out there will yell, "They're not dolls, they're action figures." I know, I get it. But for the sake of outrageous creepitude, let's investigate the case of the moving Bionicle. Reddit user Bleach Pong shared a video of his brothers watching TV. If you can look past the extremely dusty Xbox, you'll see that they're reacting to some noises. Apparently, ever since they moved into their relatively new home, they'd heard strange noises at odd times. Most commonly, that of someone sifting through their tubs of Lego. This would happen most often when nobody was around to be making said racket. Over the years, this strange noise would consistently weird the brothers out. In fact, it happened so often that it became a bit of a legend between them and their friends. So, them considering this particular event isn't too outrageous to consider. Back to the dusty Xbox room, the two brothers hear a noise, plastic blocks being disturbed from their resting place. So they follow it to a long closet full of old toys. Quite an impressive collection of Lego, Transformers, Bionicles, and more. They open the door, flick on the lights, and film the inside of the room. Now, they don't notice it in the recording, but something very strange is going on at the back of the closet. Let's get that clip again.
There's nothing up here.
Did you see that? The big custom Bionicle moving its head? Well, it's not supposed to do that. Like I said before, they didn't really see it happen when recording, but upon reviewing the footage, they realized the chilling movement. After sharing it with the internet, they claimed that the neck joint was stiff and shouldn't be moving without outside influence. It also seems unlikely that pests like mice or rats could be causing all this ruckus, let alone moving just the head on a toy. So what do you think? Is the toy moving on its own, or is it something else entirely? Sneaking in at number 4, we've got Annabelle, the classic. How can you make a haunted dolls list without including Annabelle? It simply isn't done. The now Hollywood famous doll held captive at Ed and Lorraine Warren's occult museum for decades. Annabelle has been caught moving many times, even when behind the glass at the museum. There's just no stopping this evil plaything. She was first documented after being gifted to a young nursing student named Donna. Donna would treat the doll like a little girl even after odd things started happening. At first, Annabelle would just move around when no one was looking. Her arms and legs would cross and uncross, or her head would tilt at odd angles. If Donna and her roommate were gone long enough, they might even come back to find Annabelle in a totally new area. What really set their fear response off though was when Annabelle left pencil-written notes for them throughout the apartment. Messages like, "Help us," could be discovered in different parts of their home. The true terror began though when a boyfriend came to visit. Lou, who was dating Donna's roommate at the time, would come over from time to time. One night, after crashing on the couch like a respectable young man, Lou experienced a very strange occurrence. He felt the doll creeping up his leg. Terrified, he sat up and saw it attempting to strangle him. After this, he blacked out, and when he awoke, he just assumed it was a nightmare. The terror didn't end there though. Soon after, Annabelle snuck up on Lou and cut him, leaving distinct claw marks on his chest. The injuries healed over almost immediately though, leading people to think either one of two things. Either Lou was making it up, or Annabelle had mysterious powers. After these violent incidents, however, Donna had to believe the doll was up to something. She called a priest, who then encouraged her to contact the Warrens, and the rest is history. Laughing his way in at number 3, we've got Tickle Me Elmo. You could probably write a whole book on all the times Tickle Me Elmo has acted strange. There's something about bringing a giggling, wiggling, red fur-covered robot into your house that doesn't sit right with me. First introduced in the 90s, Tickle Me Elmo was a hot ticket item for families everywhere. Once this little red rapscallion made it into millions of homes, weird stories started cropping up. Folks would report that he was found in places that he should not have been able to access, or worse, moving without batteries in. The giggles and chuckles of the furry freak were heard throughout the night, even when it was left in a very much off position. So what was happening? Well, in all likelihood, it was people imagining things or the electronics of a relatively primitive toy malfunctioning. But that didn't stop people from telling tall tales of the ticklish toy tormenting tots. Eventually though, the urban legends calmed down and the Tickle Me Elmo stories died out. That is, until a new edition was released. Back in 2008, there was a new version of the interactive toy hitting the shelves. Called Elmo Knows Your Name, this was a Tickle Me Elmo for the PC era. By connecting it to a personal computer, you could program the toy to repeat phrases and remember names. A novel idea for sure, but it became disturbing fast. Melissa Bowman, a mother who had bought her son the toy, claimed that it started to say something particularly disturbing. In a sing-song voice, Elmo started saying, "Kill James, kill James." Not exactly what you want to hear from a children's toy, especially when your kid's name is James. Young James even started repeating what Elmo was saying. Yikes. Melissa wasn't sure how the toy learned how to do that. Whether it was a prank or some faulty programming, we may never know. Coming in at number 2, we've got Robert the Doll. Another classic. Robert the Doll also managed to inspire a major doll-based horror movie franchise, but because they don't share the same name, he doesn't enjoy as much fame as Annabelle. The life-size figure was the inspiration for Chucky, star of the Child's Play series. Robert was originally given to Robert Eugene Gene Otto as a present when he was young. The details on who the doll came from are a little more fuzzy though. Some say it was a gift from his grandfather, which doesn't seem to corroborate the whole evil haunted bit. Others, however, claim that it came from an angry voodoo practicing maid who wanted to get revenge on Gene and his family for some misdeeds against her. Robert the Doll has been seen changing expressions and moving around on his own over the years. Some also say that he moved around other things and planted voodoo figures throughout the house. While most dolls have an origin story related to the death of somebody close, this one seems to have taken to life without any such morbidity. Dressed as Gene and sharing his first name, the doll would often get blamed for things Gene did. Apparently, this is what unlocked its supernatural powers. People in the house would tell stories of overhearing Gene talking to Robert and Robert talking back. These days, Robert is kept at the East Martello Museum in Key West, Florida. Visitors will often complain of post-visit misfortunes after seeing Robert. Those who fail to respect him often find themselves getting into car accidents, breaking bones, losing jobs, and having marital problems. Jeez, Robert, just let the people live. And finally, at number 1, we've got Ruby. The last haunted doll we'll discuss today is less terrifying and more tragic. She's not malicious or mean-spirited. In fact, she's apparently very sweet. But the effects she imposes on people around her are very strange indeed. Passed down over generations, Ruby is an old family heirloom. Apparently, years ago, a young girl died while holding this very doll. After she passed away, the doll will be found in all sorts of places all over the house. Folks would leave it in the living room and later find it in the kitchen. Sometimes it might even sneak up to a bedroom. In addition to moving around, Ruby would also leave people feeling blue and sad and even nauseous. Headaches, allergic reactions, and exhaustion were also reported. For years, nobody knew what to do with the doll. It was creepy. Nobody wanted it roaming around their house, making weird noise and causing people to feel ill. However, it did have the spirit of a deceased family member attached to it. So the family would pass it from member to member. Each person would deal with the weirdness for a little while, and then Ruby would move along to her next new home. After spending time in different family homes for years, Ruby made it to the Traveling Museum of the Paranormal and Occult. It was here that the ill effects seemed to subside, with sickness and headaches happening less often. These were replaced with much different feelings. Some visitors even reported familiar maternal feelings, even rocking Ruby back and forth like a real child. In fact, Ruby often brings people to tears with sudden, overwhelming affection. So the sweet little girl is still in there somewhere, looking to show people that she's not as evil as most make haunted dolls out to be. So, what did you think of the list? Looking at your figurines and playthings a little differently now? Which doll would you be okay with letting into your home? Are there any other haunted dolls that you think should have made the list? Make sure you let me know down in the comments. Speaking of comments, let's take a look at some of your more aquatic ones from the top 5 scary Arizona urban legends you won't believe. Twisted Creator says Tucson Slaughterhouse. It's a haunted slaughterhouse that's a haunted house now every 31st of October. Well, hopefully they can open up by Halloween this year to get a new batch of folks in to be haunted. Anthony Gomez says Southside PHX, born and raised. A lot of weird and crazy stuff here in my hood. Don't worry about the monsters, cryptids, or ghosts. It's the people that'll get you. Ain't that the truth? Folks tend to be more fearsome than any monster we dream up. Band-Aid God says, why haven't I heard any of this from my own home state? Well, now you have. Ask around and see what you can dig up. E. Kramer 2 says Vulture Gold Mine Wickenburg. Supposed to be very, very haunted. I'll have to look into it. If you could head there yourself someday and grab some footage, it would be much appreciated. And Lair Mistress says, funny, I lived in Phoenix for 15 months in 1990-91 and never heard of any of these except for perhaps Chupacabra. Maybe I spent too much time on the archaeological dig gigs. See, you think that being at dig sites would involve you in more urban legends. What haunted bones did you dig up? And that's all the time we have for today. Before I walk under a ladder on my way to pet a black cat, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe for more spooky specialties. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Apparently, ever since they moved into their relatively new home, they had heard. The now Hollywood famous doll held captive, held captive. Laugh, boo. Calm down, and Tickle Me Elmo did. Oop, Tickle Me Elmo didn't die. I said visit way too many times that sentence.